Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here with Malik, curators of the Philosophy Archive. We left Absurd Hero last time, and there's an internal tension too. Today we pick up where we left off. Under Camus' calm prose, a tension simmers just beneath the surface. If we accept that life is absurd and both suicide and transcendence are off the table, then we're left with a profound question. What justifies revolt over surrender? This dilemma is woven into the core of his philosophy, and it's one that many thinkers have wrestled with throughout history. We find ourselves pondering this struggle, caught between despair and defiance, trying to make sense of our choices.
That tension is crucial, Aurelius. But we really can't overlook the context in which Camus was writing. France was under occupation, and for many, survival meant facing daily struggles just to make it through. For countless individuals, endurance wasn't some lofty idea. It was a matter of life and death. Imagine those people, waking up each day in fear but still finding a way to keep going. Their stories remind us of the human cost in times of crisis.
Exactly. The philosophy of the absurd emerged in a time when the line between philosophical revolt and mere survival was razor thin. Camus's refusal to escape into transcendence reflects a reality shaped by emergency. When speech could be policed, every word became a potential act of defiance. We saw how oppressive regimes thrive on silence, stifling dissent and curating narratives. In such a world, embracing the absurd is not just an intellectual exercise. It's a way of pushing back against the weight of tyranny.
But that raises some important questions about the implications of his stance. To a Christian reader, Camus's insistence on staying within certain limits might come across as a refusal of grace. The absurd hero, while undeniably noble, can seem closed off, enduring struggles that really should be entrusted to something greater. Can dignity truly survive without a higher power to lean on? It makes you wonder about the human cost of such a worldview, and how it affects those grappling with life's harsh realities.
Camus didn't mock religious longing. He simply denied that it could ever escape the reality of our mortal lives. Critics of his thought argue that finitude is just a passage, a temporary state, not a prison. But Camus suggests that the absurd truly begins where our explanations fall short. Any leap toward transcendence, he warns, risks shutting down the inquiry too soon. We need to sit with the discomfort of our limitations and embrace the questions they raise.
But, Aurelius, isn't that a simplification? Existentialists like Sartre champion radical freedom and self-creation, urging individuals to carve out their own paths. Camus, on the other hand, seems to focus more on the limits of that freedom. Critics argue that his perspective can turn revolt into something almost performative, beautiful, sure, but maybe too polished for the messy chaos of real life. What about the everyday struggles of people who feel trapped? Their voices matter too.
That stylization is not trivial. By selecting a single figure like Sisyphus, Camus creates a universal symbol for all of us. This choice makes suffering legible and, paradoxically, beautiful. Yet, it risks softening the harshness of existence, turning raw labor into a mere emblem. We run the danger of romanticizing struggle, of making it feel almost quaint. We must ask ourselves, does this portrayal diminish the real weight of our hardships, or does it offer us a necessary lens to confront our reality?
And therein lies a deeper critique. If the absurd hero lives in rebellion, why doesn't that translate into real justice for everyday people? Camus's later works do hint at solidarity, but in the myth of Sisyphus, the revolt seems almost detached from the harsh realities of exploitation or class struggles. Are we romanticizing a rebellion that doesn't demand actual change? We have to ask ourselves, who benefits from this kind of rebellion and who continues to suffer?
You raise a valid point. Camus admired the conqueror, but that admiration can blur the lines between existential rebellion and outright domination. Imagine a factory worker or a prisoner grappling with their own reality. For them, Sisyphus isn't a hero. It's a harsh reminder of their plight. Being told to find happiness in struggle? It feels like a cruel joke. We often overlook how these philosophies play out for those at the bottom, trapped in systems that thrive on their suffering.
Exactly. For many, resilience shouldn't just be something we celebrate. It needs to be questioned and challenged. Camus understood oppression deeply, yet the early absurd hero he presents doesn't fully translate that understanding into a meaningful critique of society. His account of suicide is particularly troubling. It's framed as a philosophical puzzle, but that overlooks the messy, painful realities that so many individuals face when grappling with despair. We need to remember those stories, the people behind those struggles.
Camus's severity is honest, no doubt, but it can feel inadequate when we're confronted with real distress. His arguments, while clear, often seem too simplistic. He boldly asserts that we should live without appeal, yet this raises a crucial question. If there's no ultimate court to judge our lives, why do we place such high value on lucidity over comforting illusions? Are we really better off facing harsh truths, or do we simply need the warmth of some well-crafted lies?
And that internal tension is really key to understanding the whole picture. Camus's lucidity might preserve a sense of dignity for some, but there are those who see it as a last-minute moral intuition, like an afterthought. The myth of Sisyphus carries its own heavy baggage. Remember, Sisyphus was punished for deceit, not just stuck in endless labor. That context really matters, especially when we think about the human cost behind these stories. It's not just a philosophical exercise. It's so much more personal.
What survives all of these objections isn't a definitive proof, but rather a bold provocation that challenges us. Camus argues we should face suffering with a mix of truthfulness, style, and solidarity. It's an open question whether that's enough to carry us through. By confronting the absurd hero reflects the limits of how much truth we can endure in our lives. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? We must ask ourselves how far we're willing to go.
That's where we leave it this time. Absurd Hero continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Philosophy Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.